Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be sharing some of my miniature orchids. So let's get right into it. So this first plant I want to show you is called Pleurothallis talpinaria. It's sort of a medium-sized plant, I'd say. Maybe around 13 centimeters tall, and spread is around 13 centimeters as well. So I grow this on a piece of cork bark mounted with some sphagnum moss around the roots. Because this is an epiphyte, I prefer to grow it as an epiphyte, so on a piece of something instead of in a pot. You can see here, I've had this plant for about 6 or 7 months. Right here where my thumb is, there's a root that is very stuck onto that piece of cork. So if I were to cut all these strings and flip it over, this plant would remain attached to this piece of cork. Anyways, the flowers. These things are very intricate. You can see this lip here, it's kind of bouncy. The patterning and detail I find very nice. And so believe it or not, this is actually on the larger end of some of the flowers I have, and it's only about a centimeter in vertical spread. But even though it's so small, if you put it real close, there's so much detail in the flower, which is why I find these smaller growing orchids so interesting. Alright, so this plant here is another Pleurothallis. It's Pleurothallis bivalvis. And remember when I said that the other one was large? I meant it. This one is looks like around this 0.9 centimeters in spread. But yeah, it's got this very interesting looking lip. If I zoom in here, it's almost like a red tongue sticking out at you. Again, I have this growing mounted, and you can see over here at least some of the roots. This one's going nuts. This plant is super attached to this piece of cork. So, the story about this plant is I actually received this as an incorrectly ID'd plant. This was sold to me as Pleurothallis kaynagata. I'll show you the flower for that in a minute, or I'll put a picture of the flower on the screen actually. But when it bloomed, it was very clear to me that this was not Pleurothallis kaynagata. So I had to ask the seller what it was, and they told me Pleurothallis bivalvis, and at that point in time, I was actually super unconvinced that this was Pleurothallis bivalvis, just because it kind of looks nothing like a lot of features of Pleurothallis bivalvis. Yeah, but after doing a little more digging, a little more research, turns out that Pleurothallis bivalvis, at least the way it is currently described in literature, is extremely variable. So this could very well be Pleurothallis bivalvis, but in the future it may be redescribed as something else. So pretty cool. Better bring that up. And again, this thing has a ton of buds. It really likes the cold winter weather. Here's another one. And so another thing I wanted to ask is, do people think these leaves look like string beans, or is that just a weird image I have in my head? Anyways, let me know in the comments. So this next plant I have here, let me just say, is an absolute monster when it comes to vegetative growth. I mean, I got this thing when I had, I think, 5 or 6 leaves. Close to, I think, 9 months ago, 10 months ago. But, I mean, it's going crazy. One thing I can't get it to do, though, is have all its blooms open at the same time. So it's basically always in bloom. but very sporadically amongst the different leaves. So this is called Pleurothallis mastodon, and if I zoom in here, you can kind of see why. The petals make it look like an elephant or a mastodon. It's pretty cool. I have found that some leaves will tend to put out 2 buds, like this one here. I'm not really sure why it does that or how I can make it do that, but with every leaf. Anyways, if you're looking for a really easy Pleurothallis to grow, I think I'd consider this one pretty easy because I don't really do anything special. It just grows. It produces a bunch of keikis, so you get tons of baby plants. See all these roots coming out of these leaves here. And yeah, it's just an absolute weed for me, at least. So this is Pleurothallis mastodon, and you can see these roots here. I don't even know what to do with this anymore. Like this plant is definitely fully attached to this piece of cork, but when I have to go in and remove this, or not remove, replace this moss, I'm gonna have a fun time making sure I don't break all these little delicate roots here. Yeah, cool plant. These leaves are also very aesthetic. Kind of remind me a little of the aeroids that people keep the philodendron or pothos leaves. Without the climbing up your wall and destroying it, or growing super big, you have no more space for it aspect, which I kind of like. Again, oh, let me measure these flowers. I have one fully open flower. Yeah, this one's about 0.8 cm as well. So very, very small flowers. This one here is Pleurothallis kaynagata. It's the one that I received that other plant for incorrectly. And you see like the string bean-like leaves. So this flower is just about to open, but it's not open yet. But I just wanted to show you something interesting about this plant. So something that I've noticed that Pleurothallid type orchids tend to do when they get stressed is they'll just restart. So if you see here, there's a cluster of leaves up here, like these ones, that are, not this one, that are the leaves that the plant had when I received it from the buyer or seller. Here, these leaves here. And then, of course, because it's shipped here from Ecuador, right, the plant gets stressed. It dropped a lot of leaves, and you can tell by how thick this base is. There should be a lot more leaves, but it lost a lot of the adult leaves. But it just made a bunch of little baby leaves. And I've noticed a lot of Pleurothallid type orchids have a tendency to do this when they're stressed. So I thought that was pretty cool. To show you. And my plant's reached a point where it's this leaf, see this leaf here? It's starting to produce leaves that are pretty on par with, size-wise at least, with the ones that I received the plant with. And again, there's a lot of buds. Here's 2. This one's about to open. There's another one here. But yeah, very, very floriferous. Basically always in bud or bloom. That's what I love about these orchids. So I'll probably finish off with this plant. It is my largest Pleurothallid orchid. This is Pleurothallis saueri. And yeah, it's huge. I don't know what else to say. This mount is not that big. It's only around 10 cm, 10 by 10 probably. And this plant is, I mean, it's just very tall. So, interestingly, it grows so slow. I mean, I've had this thing for close to 10 months, I think, and it's put out 3 new leaves. These 3 here. All these other ones are old, but on the bright side, it blooms like crazy. Here, doesn't fit in the frame with the tripod, so I'm freehanding it now. But you see these buds here? They grow out of the middle. There are all the past buds, so you can see, or past spikes right here. Lots and lots of flowers. So it seems very sensitive to humidity because I've taken this out for maybe 2 minutes, and you can see here these petals are already drooping. Usually they're pretty erect and pointed out like little wings or something like this. Yeah, so I probably shouldn't leave this guy out for too long. Another thing with these flowers is they point down, and my setup's a little low to the ground, so fortunately I can't really admire their beauty too much. You see, there's some very interesting patterns going on down there, and it's a really nice yellow color, which the camera is picking up pretty well. Alrighty, I think that'll do it for this video. I know I only covered 5 plants, but if I covered everything in here, it would take hours. So please leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'd appreciate it if you could leave a comment telling me what you liked, what you didn't like, and maybe what you would like to see in future videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.